I honestly have to say, that was a good twist. That was a great plot progression that actually has me dying to see a season 2 now. I mean, this is a show that I've enjoyed every single episode of. I get it, it's not the anime community's biggest cup of tea, I understand that, but when you look at it, like the creator himself said in the AMA, if you watch it just as a situational, funny event after event, and not trying to get overly connected to the characters, you're gonna have a good time and you won't feel betrayed or hurt when Hiro himself gets betrayed or hurt. But I've also said that the game itself and the way it works with this level of realism is really intriguing. But that by itself isn't enough to say I need to see a season 2 without some sort of really big change with the game's narrative. And they delivered that with episode 11. And honestly, we get episode 12, that will probably be a big changing factor and point for Hiro's character in-game and out-of-game. But seriously, a season 2 has a lot of possibilities with that Tesla twist. It's one of those twists that isn't obvious in hindsight, but it was actually foreshadowed and laid out in previous episodes right under our nose. So it comes as a shock without feeling like they randomly pulled this twist from thin air. Something I didn't think Full Dive was possible of, I'm going to be completely honest. Watching this episode building up to, because we've heard the moans from the dungeon, didn't really think much of it. I thought it was going to be a gag, probably a sexual gag. Probably not the only one who assumed as such given the type of characters that we're interacting with. But the idea that not only did Tesla kidnap these goblin children, which at first I was kind of curious why that was such a big red flag for Hiro, because honestly, even when he was exposing the twist, for whatever reason, maybe it was just because I expect this series to be a certain way, I didn't think them kidnapping goblin children to make, Father Goblin over here let his guard down, things like that. I was like, sure, it's times of war. I mean, there's worse shit that's probably happened from these goblins towards the humans, right? But to actually see that, the big secret of this nation, the reason why people don't leave, and the reason why the goblins are even attacking is it's all basically political bullshit to keep the status quo in order, and that as long as you leave goblins alone, they're probably more peaceful than general humans. It's only when you attack them or give them a reason to fight back that they'll even attack you. That's a really cool narrative twist that makes the idea of how the game works all the more compelling. The fact that there's this level of deception with AIs, even Riona herself, her horrible taste in men aside, I mean, that's probably a fan favorite NPC for any player, and probably why so many people never actually beat the game, because, most likely this event is designed to kill the player, the one who wants to leave and things like that. But the player who exposes a secret and hopefully defeats Tesla will be able to exit the kingdom. It's actually just a really well-designed game. Sure, you would have to have a ridiculous legal agreement that the players have to accept that says we are not responsible for any damages done to your console, but still, there's a level of realism that just continues to make it feel like a really interesting challenge. Sure, you'd want to be studying like you're studying for an exam back in school before playing this game, going through the game guide and things like that. But honestly, it's really, really interesting, and I think it'll be fascinating to see what will happen, because do I think Hiro will lose? Probably not. I'd say I'm 70% confident he survives and doesn't break his gaming chair against this Tesla battle, but I do see a 30% possibility that somehow Tesla one-ups him or something. But still, I think with his companions, I think with the way he's thinking outside the box, there's honestly a lot of potential for a character like him. Maybe not to defeat Tesla, but to run away. From what we've seen, when he runs fast, he's literally the Flash in this show, right? So if he does something smart with his speed, let his allies do the fighting, maybe he'll be able to escape and progress to the next chapter of the game, which would be pretty cool. The comedy itself in this episode, I wouldn't say was anything overly incredible for me. There was a lot of shit jokes and things like that. The 18 plus jokes. The best part of the comedy had to be just Hiro's numerous, just ridiculous reactions on the art side. I've always loved that, even when the jokes themselves aren't necessarily landing for me. I just love his exaggerated reactions. Or honestly, in this episode, some of my favorites had to be just almost how little he reacted, which for me personally just added an extra level of oomph to the comedy. But there was some nice, I think, action parts to the episode. I mean, the animation has never been overly incredible, pretty much average animation with sometimes a high point. But the thing that's always been, I think, above and beyond has been the character art itself. Look at the king of the enemy here, right? That thing looked ridiculously high detailed and it never dipped beyond that character model. Granted, there wasn't a lot of animation to it, but still, like, it was always fun to look at things in this episode and see the numerous just ridiculous ways characters were killing. Whether it's, someone who wanted to invade your privacy, cuts off a head of a peeping goblin, to just the idea of using, skewering watermelons or apples, and it's ridiculously fun for that alone. Full Dive, I would never claim as a masterpiece, like a continuous fun experience. It's mainly been a funny slapstick adventure, but I've always loved the world of this. Even though, on one hand, I would never want to play it, on the other hand, there's that level of challenge that is really compelling. Seeing the way the story and the events line up and how you really have to think outside the box, even though we probably won't see video games ever get to the point where they're gonna break your chair, the idea of how complex the narratives of this MMO are is something I could actually see happening. We already see it with really well-developed and, branching path games. But if you could really interact in this way, I mean, this is the natural progression for video games. Sure, it's a level of challenge maybe people don't want, and most likely developers would have like a navigation setting that could say, hey, do you want hints that pop up every so often? You already see that type of concept in gaming as well. So it's just cool to me. Like, I understand that if this would have been an episode more in the middle portion of the show, probably would have had a bigger buzz around it. But for me, it's been a very entertaining ride that, should we never get a season 2, it's definitely going to be a missed opportunity seeing how the world actually opens up and it isn't just shit and piss jokes. But for now, I mean, I'm still satisfied. Not the best anime of the season, but a very entertaining one nonetheless, and I come here to have fun with anime, and they've definitely done that for 11 episodes. Probably the best episode, I would say, just because of the plot twist and how well it works without being something that randomly came from thin air or is this very obvious plot point. I mean, I didn't have a single person in my comment section over the weeks be like, that Tesla guy, I bet he's up to no good. Because you just don't think of that given the circumstances, which is honestly a pretty good writing choice for the author and clearly how the anime adapted, because this guy didn't strike me as someone who's going to be bad whatsoever. I mean, characters who, run off instead of getting that traditional sappy death. Oh, they didn't deserve death, but I'm sad they're gone. Oh shit, they just ran away. Like, that type of stuff you expect, but Tesla just kind of seemed like it came from nowhere. But the foreshadowing was actually there the more I think about it, which is great. I will say though, probably one of the best ongoing gags must be Hiro and Riona's relationship and how she'll do these things that are arguably not helping him whatsoever. There's a point in this episode where what she's saying and doing, it just feels like she's mocking him, laughing, being like, oh, you shit yourself on the racetrack. I didn't shit myself. But you can actually tell that she was legit trying to get him out of his nervous zone, which in return let him not have an emotional breakdown that caused him to shit his pants. The level of realism, I think it's cool, but on the other hand, when it goes to the point where you can have IBS, honestly, who the hell thought of that? There's some things that should be left at a game, and honestly, the idea that you could have diarrhea is one of them. Leave that shit out of this game. But it's nice to see Riona actually do some helping things without just being a obvious troll, but the flick to the head was a nice bonus. Let me know your thoughts on this week's Full Dive episode down below. Where do you think episode 12 will go, and how do you hope to see them leave us off with the will they, won't they give us a season 2? Because there's quite a few ways it could go very, very well for anime watchers, or very, very poorly, forcing us to go check out that source material. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share, support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.